I'm grabbing my charger, but
All
go
right,
for it.
Jazz, that's all right. I just want to welcome everyone back to our Trifecta Nutrition Talk, and we got a couple cool things to talk about today. I haven't talked to you guys in so long, so I know that Adrian, you've been super busy.
Yeah.
Super busy. What kind of stuff do you have going on right now? I see you creating some new programs.
Right.
You're working with some apps here. Like what's can you give us a little update what's going on with Ammo Health?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot in the cooker, right? So the first thing's it was supposed to launch this week, but I want to clean it up, make sure the back end works. So it's a 30-day challenge, which it's my first one since I don't really do that stuff. However, it's putting the habit coaching sequence in. Basically, like, everyone, no matter what, needs 4 critical, in my opinion, health habits before they do anything else. So after like a lot of thought and going back, I was like, okay, how can I strip down, time collapse my program for someone to just get the biggest nuggets that have the biggest, tidal wave effect or butterfly. So I synced it down to these 4, and it's a group online coaching program. So people come in, we go through that. And then we're going to segue that into like the new year. And I've got some 90-day programs that are going to be churned out January 1st. So basically it's the challenge, and then the app that's some back end stuff. And then Gramino's is on like full tilt probably in a week.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's just a lot.
Yeah. It seems like, I think every time I see your feed, I get anxiety.
It's weird. I only get really like tight on like, if I have to work a couple weekends in a row, which I've had to do. And it's not the worst, because I know it makes, it makes the processes and the systems when people come through the client journey. I mean, our goal is to always make sure that's done really well, that they're valued, they're heard, their feedback, and that they're getting results. And the only way I think you can ever do that is make sure systems and processes are as flawless as possible. And that gives people like multiple if-then ways to go. So if this happens, then here's what we do, and make sure that those are always, hey, this could happen, Yeah. That's kind of the long and the short of it.
You got to do the work on the back end.
Dude, totally. There's so much back end work. I think a lot of people, and this can segue right into like coaching, there's so much back end work. So people only see the outcome, and they want the outcome. So whether the outcome, whatever it is in health, if they want to run a marathon, PR, win the CrossFit games, there's specific habits that need to be implemented to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, we always talk about this, meeting them where they are. So what is doable today, and then getting them to optimal, there's a process for that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think like everybody needs help, because there's so many things that need to happen. I just learned this not like 2 weekends ago, is that each habit has 4 distinct characteristics that need to sync up all at once for you to complete it. And the key of our job, what we do intuitively, is we find that missing link. We give people a system, a tactic, or a strategy. We fill it so it's kind of like when you open a door, all the keys kind of go together. That has to happen for the person to actually adhere to the behavior. Right? So it's just kind of like taking all this stuff and like getting it like literally as simple as possible for people to like follow.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that also slows it down for people?
Pardon?
Are you trying to slow the process down for people as well?
I'm trying to make it the absolute time, like break it down.
Okay.
Really, really, I'm trying to really chunk it down and then progress them at whatever pace they want to follow.
Okay.
So again, for 30 days, I think people need, like what you went through, what Laura went through, like the basics need to be done for you to kind of, and even if you're a seasoned vet, if you just started, I think it's a great place to start. And then what I want to do is then get a big nutrition network. So when they get through my foundations, I might not be the right coach. They might be better with you, right? Like they might just have a better fit profile with this nutrition coach. If they're good for me, great. They might be better with Matt. I kind of just want to run people through and then figure out which direction to like pawn them off to the next program.
Right. I like that.
That's my idea.
So I've been looking a lot at how to do like groups in general, and like following some business coaches that do it, and like haven't really taken a huge leap into doing it. But Matt and I have talked about it a number of times, doing challenges within the gym, or, opening up challenges, what habits we would include, what what would the cost be for somebody to do it? Would you do a free, like I look at it, do you do a free 5-day challenge initially? Then you get those people that you've, that are interested, that are really like seeing benefit and they want more, that then you open that up for 28 days. Like it's a tough thing, but I definitely think that's the path and the way of not only for nutrition coaches to be able to, is to spread the word more, to be able to touch more people. And also the little back end stuff you're talking about, that eliminates our ability to be able to work with a lot of people at the same time.
Right.
And you can work with 20 people and it be almost full time. You work with 30, it's pretty much full time.
Right.
So you'd have to figure out too, like there's so much administrative aspect of all of that. How can you get that stuff kind of pulled down where you can spread it out? So, I mean, I definitely think the group way, it's kind of like CrossFit, like we have the one-on-one approach and you have the group training approach. Maybe some people need to start at one-on-one, or maybe they need to start group.
Right.
But both of them work, and what it's the context you put it in. It's developing the program to make it fit and make people understand, that that it can work, and then pricing that out and all that kind of stuff too. Your value.
Yeah, I think moving people in and out of that too. So sometimes I'm coming in, I just might need a group. So like I'm talking to the CrossFit world, and this could be going into someone entering a nutrition program, group coaching, whatever. Sometimes in a group, it's like less focus on me. You kind of feel better kind of going in as you're kind of like sketchy about stuff. And then you might get really good and be like, man, I really need work on my hand cleans. So then you get one-on-one for that specific thing. Or if we coach someone in a group, they might need to dial in on their gut health. So they might need to get a one-on-one coach for gut health. So really, it's like people can go in and out of these processes their entire life. I might now come back into CrossFit and I just need motivation. I just need Carrie to yell at me. Like I might just need, at that point in my life, I want to go into a group. Then I'm like, man, my back's killing me. I might need some one-on-one work with Matt to rehab my back.
Right.
So I think like coaching and programs, I think you can go in and out, just knowing the client journey, like specifically what they want and like, why are they coming into the group or whatever. I think that's like really important. And I've never coached a group in my 18 years. This is my first go about. So it'll be interesting. I think I'll be fine. But when you're going back into like the client process, I think having something free is very important. So I have like my masterclass. You could do like a 5-day shoe-in. I think it's great. I'm just weary ever giving a full product away just because I value what I do so much.
Oh yeah.
Like what people are getting for this challenge is a week of coaching with me. 1 week and they're going to get 30 days.
Yeah.
Pricing wise.
Right.
Actually cheaper than that. So, and if they, they will get value, they are going to love it. Then I'm going to give them like basically 21 days of a bridge program for free to sell them into January when everyone's going to want to do shit.
Right.
So that's kind of like the life cycle of it.
Right. Yeah.
We just had a meeting. I just came out of now, talking about the same thing of why people do certain programs, why people come into the group versus, what will individual design, do for them? Like, why do they need it? What does that look like? And how do we get them back into something that they actually want to do, And the crazy thing is, and we see this in nutrition too, we see this in like movement, is there's a lot of main things we can focus on, and it's all simple things. And that's where, if we could get people in the same, buckets, as far as like we have, 12 people that can't touch their toes. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Help them. What does it mean in relation to, can they take weight from the floor? Do they have to take it off of risers? Or do they have to deadlift from a rack? Like, so, we were discussing ways to kind of implement that. And I think we have some really, really cool stuff going on. But as far as are we talking about coaching yet or just updates? We're just going.
I think it's all under the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, so some new things that are going on here is I actually started a kids program.
Nice, good.
Yeah.
Kids program, and to be honest, I'd never coached kids this young, ever, never done it, and I'm going to be totally honest, I never had any interest, and we've never had a kids program because I don't think we had a coach that had like a true love to actually do it, because I don't want to provide programs just to provide programs. I want to provide programs because the coach that's doing it has an absolute friggin' passion for it, you know,
Yes.
and wants to do it, and has the right personality for it. And what motivated me to do the kids program is, number one, there was an absolute need for it. Number two, my son,
Ah,
Aiden, who's you know, 6, and I wanted to do something with him, you know, and it's bigger than just coaching the kids. It's coaching the kids and helping him develop leadership qualities, and helping me with that, you know, and social qualities that they may be lacking with this lack of interaction with other kids. And I'm seeing so many kids coming into us at 13, 14, 15, when they're supposed to be in really good shape and really good movers, and they're just not. And they're just
plus,
not.
that's a lack of a million things. But where I think that's great. I mean, I started off, and that's what I started doing. I coached kids. I was a youth sports performance coach when I was like 20. I loved coaching kids 8 to 12. Like 6 is, but it's all games. Coaching is game. It's all gameplay. If there's a ball, it's a game. They love it, you know.
Yeah.
But talking through the life cycle of coaching, I just think it's so important for kids to get exposed to coaching young, not their parent coach, but
Yeah.
a different person giving feedback. I mean, from a perspective of just play and brain stuff, like when I was really young, I mean, I got diagnosed with ADHD really, really young. And if a parent is listening to this might help. They wanted to put me on tons of stimulants early, right? My parents were like, no, we'll just put her in sports year round because I had so much energy. So having all the different coaches and all the energy was pretty much able to like quell that down. But I had coaches, my parents would tell them, and they would just literally make me run at the end of practice.
Yeah.
But I think that's really important to be like honest with parents. What are the kids' needs? How can we help them?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and as far as like, you know, why we're talking about like why people need a coach, and, you know, as far as like why do these kids need a coach? Because my age range, so I have 18 kids involved in the program, and
Yeah.
range anywhere from 6 to 11 years old. Big age gap. Big.
Yeah, that's okay.
And let me tell you something. The first session that we had, we played almost 0 games. I played 0 music, and I coached the entire time. And I taught them how to move because I thought that was my value as a coach, and I was able to
Right.
teach them down to their level. I used different cues, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We did do some fun stuff, but, you know, what I won't do, and this came from just watching my kids participate in bad programs and really, really good programs. So let me give you an example. I signed my son up for tennis through Northampton Parks and Rec. All right. I went to the first session, and they had an age range similar to mine. So they had some 5 and 6 year olds. They also had some like 9 and 10 year olds, and they separated the groups. I was like, okay, that's fine. All right. So they separated the groups, and my son's 6, so he went down with the 6 year olds and the 5 year olds. And for a whole hour, which I'm paying $20 a session for, right? And this is group formatted, so you got a bunch of kids paying $20 a session. I think that's a good price point, but you have to provide some value there. Because you think about, if you have 10 kids, that's $200 a session right there. So
Right.
you got to provide some value there. So here's what I did. I watched a young instructor go over to the far court and line all the kids up in a line, right? And what he proceeded to do for an hour was take tennis balls and throw them over. Each student or each athlete in the class got 5 balls to kind of take a whack at with 0 instruction. While the rest of the kids stood in line and just watched, or like looked at bumblebees or looked at other bugs that were out there and did absolutely nothing. I was so aggravated on how low of a value I was getting for the dollar amount that I was paying for that service. That started to get me thinking of how would I do this differently? I'm not a tennis coach,
Mm-hmm.
but how would I have done this differently? I start running through all the different things, and it doesn't have to be gamey. Like if you're not a gamey kind of person, then maybe it doesn't have to be gamey, but it does have to be taught a certain way. And there's fundamental movements that these kids could have been doing. Okay.
Right.
Take another kids program that I had my son involved in, which was jujitsu over at Ricardo Almeida's. And they had this guy, Professor Ed, and Ed's in his 20s. Ed's a black belt. I don't think that's really important in these contexts, but I'll throw that out there. And he teaches all the classes, and he also teaches the kids classes. What I see in that class is a 45-minute session where the kids are almost silent, and there's a coach coaching fundamental movement patterns and some technical stuff for jujitsu. And the kids are listening and they're engaged. And when he sees they're not engaged because his head is on a swivel, he's getting them back engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at the price point I pay for that, I feel like I'm stealing it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm stealing it. I pay it was $120 a month for 3 days a week, and I felt like I was getting a steal. I almost felt bad for paying that little bit of money for the instruction that my son was getting and the quality. And it is a martial art, so I understand there's a whole respect thing and the way things should be run. And when I saw the two programs and I saw I was going to run a kids program, I was like, I want my kids program to run like that class, but I'm going to teach them. So we taught them how to squat. I use really simple cues for them. Yes, we did some conditioning over some punching bags that I have. And yes, I made them all write their names down on whiteboards and be able to read each other's names. So we did a little bit of that. But it's all about, why do people need a coach? You need a coach because most people, and even parents that want their kids to be active, are just throwing darts at programs, right? They're throwing darts and just guessing, like, let me get my kid involved in this program. What's actually beneficial? Like, do they understand what a good coach is, right? And when I ran my program, I wanted them to understand what a good coach is, regardless of the age, what a good coach looks like. And I just had a consult with another athlete a couple hours ago, and she's having problems with her exercise program. She's got a bunch of limitations. Her nutrition program, she has digestion issues. And you know what she's also doing, and I use this term all day, is she's throwing darts and seeing what sticks. This is exactly why people need a coach.
Yeah. Hands up.
Spin your wheel and you throw darts at what tactic works, what foods work for you, with zero guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Zero guidance. And in my opinion, that's the number one reason that people need to get a coach. Maybe not for their whole life cycle of this healthy lifestyle habit changing, but at least they need a coach for a designated period of time, and it may be forever and it may only be for 12 weeks. But whatever it is, they need a coach so they can stop guessing, so we can work through it with them and find out what works for them and why it works and make those habits stick, whether it's movement or whether it's nutrition.
Yeah, it actually all, like, I've been spending a lot of time thinking about this, like an absurd amount of time. And I've been the past 2 years just diving into this. And I knew it, but I didn't have the words for it always. And now I know I have the words for it. But at the end of the day, it really all does boil down to habit change. So whether it's strength and conditioning, nutrition, either way, what a habit does, it solves a problem. I'm tying my shoe to solve the problem of me not having a shoe on. I need that shoe to go outside because I don't want my feet to be on cement. So it's problem solving. And when the problem, people assume that they can consistently solve problems without having the right process. And a coach, if they're process based, can put them through that, right? So one, you have to know, what are you trying to solve? So you did that. You did the legwork. You're like, I want to solve the problem of having these kids come in, get them fit, but not be boring, and have them actually learn something, right? So that's problem solving. Same thing, I think, with people going through, whatever they're doing, is they think they can solve the problem without having an expertise in it, and or, most importantly, the experience. So, like, I don't tell my hairdresser how to cut my hair. I just want it to look good on my face. I don't know what I'm doing. I can come in and be like, no, I don't try to fix my car. I have no idea how to do that. I trust the person that gives me consistent results. That's why I go to that person to solve a problem. So at the end of the day, like, whatever we're doing, stop it. So I have two business coaches. I have a basic coach, and I just hired this very, very, very expensive coach, where it's the most amount of money I've ever spent for 3 months of coaching. Now, the reason I hired him, because we have one thing. We're just working on building the frameworks of a massive distribution evergreen client experience. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to make sure my clients have this type of experience without me being involved. And it was a massive problem that I needed a coach to, I wasn't going to try to figure, I mean, you know this, Matt. And he literally just takes a field and like, you know, like a field goal position of the field. He looks at it and the crap that comes out of his brain, I literally am just like, how are you, like, it's so smart for me, I'm like, I would have never known that. And I've been in business, you know that, the same amount of time. I would have never in 15 minutes, he was able to look at my business, go, this is what you need to do for the next several steps. This is your goal for the week. Tells me what to do, and I go do it. But it's the amount of value that I see because he's given repeated results of people that like me that have the same goal. So I think when people are looking to solve problems with coaches, they're looking for, are they kind of like me or do they speak to me? Can they solve my problem? I kind of need proof, right? So it's social proof or whatever. And then the buy-in's always there. Like, why would I waste my time trying to figure out a problem when I can pay someone to do that for me? I'm not lazy. It's not my lazy brain. It's smarter because someone's been there before. They've done it. They've repeatedly done it. So why would I try to do all the work when somebody else knows how to do it?
Yeah. Yeah, you're totally right. And it's funny that people don't really view their health that way.
It's totally insane to me.
Yeah.
Totally insane.
You know, but you wouldn't try to just, if you didn't know how to fix your car, you wouldn't really just try to fix it yourself.
No, like if my carburetor went, I wouldn't know where to start. I'd be overwhelmed, just like a client. I kind of know what's wrong with me. My back might hurt, or, you know, I've gained 30 pounds this year. Well, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Right. How did your carburetor go out? Oh, we found out that your, I don't know, your exhaust was shitty. So I got to go fix my exhaust. It's not the carburetor. So it's like, I don't know why we try to problem solve what, you know, or if it hasn't worked for you, if those processes aren't working, then you probably need someone to help guide you through it.
I mean, do you also think that when we think of today's age versus years ago, just social media, Google, I mean, people try to fix their own problems, but a lot of times people don't like to admit that they have a problem with those things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like shameful to know that you put on 20 pounds in a year, or that you can't do certain things. And there's now all this information. And then there's all of these shortcut programs that people like, right? Oh, well, I can just try this. This one I can lose 20 pounds on, or this I can do.
Yeah.
All of that type of thing. But I think the kids program, we had talked about trying to introduce that during quarantine. And I really, truly don't think that it would have been anywhere near as successful. And Matt was like, you want to do a kids program? Run it. And I was like, it froze. So I was like psyched when he decided to kind of put this in. And I think the thing is to CrossFit is that being a coach and bringing kids to this, and really it's very similar to what I look at a jiu-jitsu or an individual program for kids. So like, we want our kids, when we have children, despite the fact that we are active, we are athletes or not athletes, we want them to feel confident. We want them to be involved in things. We want them to have friends, the socialization, with you know, having PlayStations and all that stuff, and cell phones, and parents both working. Kids are inside a lot more than, and then especially quarantine, more than ever.
Oh yeah.
You know, one of the reasons that I started my son, who's now almost 16, in jiu-jitsu at a young age of 4, was because he really needed to feel confident and strong. And the experience that we had when him being 4 down in Baltimore is a reason why, you know, my husband now has been doing this all these years. But we, you know, the same thing, Matt, like the value we got from that guy in Baltimore, it was, I didn't care whether my son wanted to play basketball, any other sport. I wanted the kid to feel strong and comfortable on his own, and felt that an individual kind of program where he was going with a group, he was getting training in a group, yet it was for his own individual confidence, skill, this basic skill set that was really, really important, that would carry with him in school, in all the other things, that he could have a little bit more, be a little bit more outgoing and all those kind of things. But it was the value in that our Baltimore martial arts, where my son would not get on the mat for like 4 weeks. And, you know, here we are paying $120 a month. And I watched him coach, and he said, you know, they called him Sifu. The Sifu came to me, came to me, and he was like, listen, your son's going to get on the mat. If you can get him here every single class, he'll get on the mat. I'm not going to charge you until he gets on the mat. I was like, okay.
Wow.
So he would go and he started playing like certain games they would play that he felt comfortable with, but he didn't want to roll. Then all of a sudden he like started doing some drills. Next thing you know, it was like, bye mom, boom.
Yeah.
Out. But the value, same thing. What I paid, we looked at like 10 schools up here before we found a school for him and for my husband, because we had that great precedence of what a good school
Right.
should be.
Absolutely.
And I think with CrossFit, it's the same thing as like a martial arts. They can go very hand in hand in terms of you're going overall functional movement. They're in a group setting, yet they are getting individual, strength, skill, confidence. And it has to be a program that a coach is, confident in what they're doing. But I think having programs like that, it's, gymnastics. It's another thing where you have kids at a young age in gymnastics. It doesn't mean they're going to be a gymnast, no. But when they're 3 and 4 years old, learning how to do functional movement types of things and individual things on their own, it's so good for them.
I can't tell you, every gymnast I know that was a gymnast younger has an amazing body and freakishly strong as adults.
Yeah.
Even if they haven't lifted or they don't, it's the movement practice when you're young, you're building that ligaments and the tendons for life.
You're lifting your body weight from the time you're born.
Absolutely. It's one of the,
you get bigger and you get heavier. If you never stop lifting it, you don't lift
exactly.
Dude, I was jacked as a gymnast. Jacked.
It's
like I had weird dimples in my butt, like no body fat. And like, it was literally doing pull-ups.
It was, yeah.
Running, sprinting to the vault, being balanced. I mean, such good fundamental things. And I think we can get that in our CrossFit program that it'll really affect kids outside of here and work well with any kind of thing that their parents decide to put them in,
Yeah. And it's also setting them up for like, just having a second place to go that's health-based. Right. I think we put so much stress in this country on education. And education is garbage without application. And in my opinion, the two, like what you can get in the gym, the lessons there, right? So I'll tie this up in a nice story. My friend runs a huge North Penn like emotional support thing. She like does all that, and she couldn't get her kid to get over anxiety. So she went to the best therapist, all this stuff. She's like, I don't know what to do. Adrian, can you like help me? I'm like, does he like to do any sports? No. Doesn't like sports. So she got him involved in Ninja Warrior, American Ninja Warrior. Okay? Yeah. Within 4 weeks, the kid, because he kept failing and just like, I want to quit. And the coach is like, listen, he's like, I'm going to run up the wall with you. And they just kept purposely failing and falling back down. And then over time, I mean, this kid actually just won. This was like 10 years ago. He just won, I think, like the juniors American Ninja War. And the kid is literally the most fearless kid. Here was a kid that was scared to go outside to like interact with people. And they just found him the right system that he felt comfortable, he loves. And the kid is like literally, my friend Stacey is like, it's saved his life. He just found, because you can't keep going, if they're scared of an education route, we're getting them, just handling the fear component can bleed into everything else.
Right.
I think it's awesome because then you give a nice exposure for kids.
We definitely, like I was talking about the kids, Matt, you talked about the kids, and we talk about adults too, is that working with a new nutrition client, another reason you need a coach. I mean, first of all, I will say that she said for the first time in her adult life, for the last 4 weeks, she's felt so much more alive just being in our program, where she felt like, she's like, I'm not feeling bad about the fact that I'm coming here and I'm taking time in the morning to do this for me, where before, if I ever did anything, I kind of felt bad. And she's like, I just feel at home and people cheer you on and it makes you feel really great, and it's about what we're doing. I feel strong and all those types of things. And, I think working with a nutrition coach, some people, do well when someone's hard on them. And we can be hard on people yet still, uplift them at the same time. But I think, in the nutrition side is what people really want is they have all these things going on. We can help them solve those problems. And if the things aren't working exactly the way it is on paper, we can say, okay, well then let's look at this. where on their own, they don't know the other things to look at. And we also breaking it down where you said about the habits, it's breaking things down small enough and actually putting the point is like, if you're really here for your overall health and you want to get to the bottom of this, I'm here to help you do it. But like, let's look at the small wins that we have along the way. And let's take the focus off of like the scale. And that's like the focus more on like our stress and how we do that. And if you're feeling good and you're performing well, you're going to start looking good, but at the same time, as a nutrition coach, what we do, we shouldn't be putting people through pain. We shouldn't be telling them all the things they can't have. We should basically broadening their horizons and opening things up to all the possibilities of all the wonderful things they can have and the way they can make it work and how we can be there to guide them along the way, so it's creating that trust factor. Like Matt, all those people that came in last week, they took your trial class. They trust it and they told their friends. You opened it up this week and Matt had to close it down within 2 hours. Like he's like, hey, we have a kids program. Boom. He's like, dude, we're full. Like we can't even do any more kids. He already has more than he ever thought that he wanted, but it's because of that word of mouth and the fact that these people came there and they're like, wow, like I trust this guy. I really trust what
and that's hands down. I think that's, again, like you guys are just hitting two things over and over again. There's a problem, you're solving it with value. And in my opinion, people will pay anything for value. A lot of reason, again, people hire coaches is sometimes they just, for me, I needed to make such a gross detriment to myself to make sure I finish stuff on time. So let's say you have a time-based goal, right? I'm getting married in a year. I'm not. Or somebody, there's a time-based thing. Having a coach like that in that sequence, you absolutely need one, especially if it's time collapsed. So like, hey, I only have 6 months. Like you're going to waste an epic amount of time trying to figure it out for yourself.
Oh yeah.
Those are the situations where I'm like, you absolutely need a coach. Yeah. It's getting from point A to point B faster with less speed bumps. So like, as Janice said, we want to remove as much struggle as we can, although you need some point of friction, in my opinion, to feel accomplished. Right? Like I need to like F up that hang clean 10 times. Cause when I hit 11, I'm gonna be like, okay, that was worth it. It felt good. So like our job is to just make that just a little bit that they, then know that they can get through something, have capacity. Then once they have capacity, we can get them to do anything. When they have ability and capacity, I can throw shit at them all day and they'll get it. Right. Yeah. So like, I think that's a big point why you guys are, selling out this stuff consistently, is that there's a problem, here's a solution, and I have a lot of value to do that.
I saw today, I saw this before, but I'm going to give credit to RP Strength for this on their Instagram today. They've
got great memes.
Dude, they have great podcasts too. I've been listening to a lot of.
They're right out of Philly. The guy from RP is trains right out of Philly.
Oh yeah, so
Dr. Mike.
They put out today, if you don't willingly make time for your health, you'll be forced to make time for your sickness.
Yeah.
And that statement's so powerful, but it just reinforces why people need a coach. But what I think is the issue here is people don't prioritize their health.
Yeah, I agree.
Breaks down, you need to go get it fixed because that will interfere with your life. But people don't really feel that way. And that's why they need, that's why I'm always like, well, you're interested? Let's talk first to discuss how this nutrition program is going to go down and how it can change things for you. Because I think people need to understand, if things are okay now, let's envision how much better could they be? And if things aren't okay now, how much worse will they be in a few? If we don't handle this now and get a coach and kind of figure this out.
I mean, I think what you hit on in saying that is it triggered something in my mind to think. I think a lot of people, because they've tried everything on their own without the education, like we've talked about before, every diet, if you're committed to it and you follow it to a T, is going to work.
It'll work.
But if you don't know the education and the reason why they're telling you to eat, why are you eating grapefruits, only like mono fruit type of things? Why is that working? First of all, that's ridiculous. But I'm just saying, keto, why are all of these different things, why do they work when you follow them? And what part of it, if you go derail from it slightly, is causing the whole thing to fall off. Is where that, so people, when they come to us, they feel broken. They feel that they've tried everything under the sun. No diet works for them. Their body doesn't do it good with carbs. Protein bloats them. I have a client who does have IBS, and since I've been working with her, has not had an IBS episode. And we didn't eliminate dairy. We didn't eliminate gluten. We didn't say, okay, you have to do an elimination diet. We basically went through the baseline. She started really taking care of her health. So so now we're getting them like, wait a minute, maybe they weren't broken. And that gives them a little bit of the confidence. And then once you educate them and they start honing in on how they feel throughout the process, like a big thing for me is like, how did this week go? What were your wins? What were your struggles? And trying to remove some guilt from people. And when they think they did something that was completely wrong, I'm like, okay, so one day this week you did something really shitty, but you were doing it 7 days a week for the last 30 years. Why all of a sudden do you have the guilt over it? You know what I mean? It's just a thing. It just happened. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm cool. But just feel bad about it. It's, working people through all those things. But I do truly think that people believe they're broken. And when we do some small things, it's like that trust goes a little bit further. Then they get confidence in the fact that it was just, oh wait, I just didn't have the right flow.
Didn't have the right tools.
I didn't have the consistency to actually if something worked or didn't work, or my gut was in a bad spot before, but now it's not because we've done A, B, and C.
People love their stories. Believe me, we all do. That's just a bunch of stories you're telling yourself, and they could have been true. They could be not true. But either way, you're in the presence of now. You're here right now.
But that in general, when you said the story, they love the story. That's the thing why you need a coach.
Absolutely.
Because we want to know your story, because that is part of your whole, your being. We want to know if you binge eat at night because of something, stress during the day or whatever it might be, is that your story is a component. We want to know if you, maybe you don't work and you don't make that much money. So if I feed you and tell you all you have to have is organic this and organic that, I want to know kind of like if finances are a stress for you and you just paying for a coaching program, I'm not going to tell you to go out and buy, most expensive shit. I'm going to say, hey, you know what? Let's do frozen if you can do frozen organic vegetables, let's go there. We know your story and that's what it's about. When you can start impacting that story and building on it and people can talk about it. It's not just about, changing one thing in my diet and I did this. It's really about you're adding to their story of life. You're impacting them on such a greater scale. And I think as a coach, you should feel that way. I think that's part of, for me, is the why I love doing it, is really seeing how people's lives change on some of the little things. And I'm like, dude, we didn't even do that much. We really didn't even do that much, but we brought things down to such a basic level in the beginning that people are really able to fight through some things where they think they're like, I'm a binge eater, I have disordered eating. There are people that do 100%. But there's also some of those people that, just because they eat, they binge, and after they drink, they think they're a binge eater. Maybe it's just a habit at night that you need to change, and eating during the day a little bit more that causes, maybe you just had cravings, So there's a lot of reasons to work with a coach. And as a coach, I'm seeing more and more the reasons why it's important to work with a coach.
At this point, I don't think I've had a coach in some sector. I can't even remember when I didn't, to be honest. And I think, but it just helps accelerate. I don't want to struggle. I mean, I do, but I know there's an easier path by following the footsteps of someone that's already done it and they've been successful doing it.
Yeah, it's a stress reliever.
I just don't understand why. I actually can't even find a reason to not get a coach. Because listen, as humans, we are fully adaptable. There's always things you want to work on, whether it's your fitness, your health, your finances, your career. People have therapists, they have mindset coaches, whatever sector you want to improve on. Just be real with yourself. You're a human. You're not good at everything. I suck at 99 things. I'm literally good at one thing. That's it. So I have 99 things I can hire a coach for. So I just go through each year and I hire one coach in a specialty area and I just try to get good at it. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to figure out how to do jujitsu by myself. Mm-hmm. There's no way. I would need someone to work with me to teach me how to do that. So like, I think that coaching should be a never ending process for people, and it just because it's an investment in yourself, right? Like the best teachers and the best coaches, I always think back of like my best teacher and my best coach was hard on me, very hard, and made me push past shit that I didn't, again, stories in my own head, like, how am I going to do this? And I did it every single time. So it's like, I like coaches because they also remind me that, like, you know, I've got this person inside me that's capable of these things. And sometimes, I mean, sometimes I'm even like, I'm a little scared, you know, a coach like, listen, you're going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really important.
I also remind people they're paying for a service.
Yeah.
You know, I also tell people that, you know, 3 weeks ago, you decided this was finally the most important thing for you. So you have skin in the game. Like, why would you pay me if you're not going to be all in, if you're not going to trust the process, you know? So that's an important aspect too. We have a value we have to bring, but they have to do the work and be there committed to doing the work. And that's the only way it is truly going to work.
And
you know?
to be honest, the higher you drive your price point, the more people work for you.
Yeah.
I've noticed this time and time again. You know, like I said, like I put so much money towards my recent business coach that I'm like, I have to make this work because I'm going to lose this much amount of money if this doesn't happen. So sometimes I see that I don't see coaching as a price point. I see it literally as an investment. And it's to hold you accountable. Be like, if I'm paying said coach $2,500 a month, I'm sure you're going to want to do your stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, how much money are you willing to invest in yourself?
Right.
You know, to make sure that you're taken care of.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to do anything. I wouldn't do half this shit if my coach was $100 a month or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'd still be like, but if I put an egregious amount forward, I know I'm going to do it. And some people, I'm that type of person that needs that type of like line accountability to make sure I get through my stuff done. And I'm a pretty high performance coach myself doing stuff. And I even need another level of someone to get me up there.
Everyone, coach.
Another level, another devil, dude.
Matt's just like, everyone needs a coach.
It's an inarguable fact. Right. It's actually like, you can't even, it's incontrovertible. That's the word I was looking for. You can't really argue it.
No, definitely not. Well, guys, great talk today. I hope the listeners find as much value in it as we did. I'm sure they will. And everyone have a great and productive week, right? And hopefully we'll get some more phone calls about being people's coaches.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's gonna be a problem.
No, I don't think it's gonna be a problem at all. All right, guys, nice chatting with you guys, and I'll see you guys next week.
You got it.
All right, see you guys. Bye.